to start by congratulating Coach Hazel and his team. A tremendous effort by them. A really fine football team, as we knew going into the game, and I thought they played exceptionally well. It certainly would not surprise me to see them go on and continue to have success as the season progresses. 7 turnovers, very difficult to win a football game when you turn it over 7 times. All the reasons really we've been standing here and talking about how we've won games, protecting the football, running the football, field position, starting field position, and really all 3 of those phases hurt us in one way or another today. You know, they certainly did a better job protecting the ball than we did, and I think that was probably the most dramatic of all those phases. I thought their punter was exceptional. I don't know how much we could have done with that. And we certainly tried to block him, and when we weren't able to get there, and he was able to flip the field on us quite a few times today. We knew going in he was very good, and he certainly performed at a very high level. So the punt exchanges didn't certainly benefited them more than they benefited us today. And they did a good job running the football, which again, we knew they had 2 good runners and an experienced offensive line, and they executed very well. And not so much that we weren't able to run the ball or didn't run the ball, but when a game gets like that, it's tough to get the attempts you would like to have. So, I thought we ran the ball okay early in the game, but didn't have a situation in the game where we would be able to continue to run it. So we're certainly disappointed. We're not happy with the way this second 4-game season ended. But as we sit here going into the bye week at 7-1, we got to evaluate, the reasons why today happened and the reasons why the other 7 days happened, and make sure that we pick stuff out next week that we can get a little bit better at, and also get a little bit of a jump on preparing for Army, a little bit of a different scheme, and then go forward into our last 4-game season, which again will be critical, and a lot of things will be decided in our league in those last 4 games. And with that, I would open it for questions.
Now, how difficult is it to stay with a quarterback when he's throwing 6 interceptions? It seemed from the outset Gary was out of sorts. 3rd play of the game with 3 interceptions.
It wasn't difficult for me because I felt like we were still in the game. We still had enough possessions to try to win the game. If we had gotten to the point where that wasn't the case, I may have gone a different route. But we still were in a situation the last time Gary out where I felt like if we could get a score, we'd be able to get we'd be able to get an onside kick and have a chance to win the game. So as long as it stayed within reach, it wasn't a hard decision for me. I think again, it's one of those learning experiences that is not enjoyable. Certainly not enjoyable to watch, but it's not enjoyable for him to experience it either. But I think it's going to be critical to his progression as he goes forward as a quarterback here.
Was there anything that they did specifically that you thought confused him, or was he just pressing you too hard?
I don't know that. I think I have to look at that on film. I think they did an excellent job on defense. They did some things I can tell you they did some things from a pressure standpoint that they hadn't done on film. But that's every game. Usually every team has something schemed up that's going to be just a little bit different. So that's not unique to this game. But I certainly want to give their defense credit. They did a good job taking the ball away from us.
It's rare that you see a defensive end make 1 interception, let alone 2. I mean, it seemed, was he just playing that play differently, or did you not get a cut block? Or?
No, I thought it was an excellent reaction. And really, one of those plays, I don't know if you'll see it again in a long time. You don't see it very often. The last time I could remember something like that, and I'm sure it's happened since, but I remember Julius Peppers doing it when he was playing at North Carolina. As crazy as that memory sounds as an offensive line coach, you tend to remember those type of things because they're so unique. But it was a heck of a reaction by him. I want to say he caught it with one hand, it looked like, on the field. I didn't see the replay. But a tremendous play by that young man. I think the second interception he had was dropping into coverage, a little bit more conventional type deal.
Okay, will it be a challenge to convince these guys that all the goals for your season are still ahead of you?
Well, I don't know that all the goals for our season are still ahead of us. I think 1 goal is gone. That's the reality for most teams in the country. There's with the exception of maybe 3, 4, or 5 teams in the country, to play for a national championship, you have to be undefeated. That's just the reality of the system we're in right now. And until it goes to a 4-team playoff, I don't know that that's going to change. But there is a goal for us that's in front of us that's never been done here at Rutgers, the Big East Championship. And we have an opportunity, sitting in conference play at 4-0, to do that over the last 3 games of our season. That'll be conference games. So I think we'll be very motivated. There's no doubt about that. But I'm always upfront and honest with the team. It is the reality of college football, the way the system is.
Charles, did you have any discussions with Gary about what he was seeing, or did you talk to Coach Brock at all yet about what Gary was seeing on some of those plays?
Coach Spence and Coach Brock had discussions during the game. You know, my message to Gary was very simple. I said, hey, take what the defense is giving you. Don't feel like you got to get it all back in one play. And some of them, you know, like some of the interceptions. And again, certainly Gary's going to look at the film and he's going to have plays that he would like to have back. But the one-handed one by the defensive end, that's a spectacular play by that young man. One of them was tipped. You know, so it's not all of those interceptions being him not reading something the right way or the way he wants to. But there's certainly going to be plays in there that he'd like to have back. Those will be things we'll look at on film, and then we'll go forward and make the corrections.
Coach, did it look like there was an unusually high amount of missed tackles on the defense tonight?
I don't know that yet. There may have been. And I thought their players did an excellent job blocking. I think they've got good running backs. So usually the combination of those two could lead to some arm tackles. That may be the case, but I won't really know that until we count them up on film.
Kyle, what happened in stopping the run today? Gave up 224 yards.
Well, I think first thing you got to do is you better credit the other team with executing what they do. You know, they've got talented linemen, they've got talented running backs, and they executed better than we executed. And I think we got to look at the film to really see the specifics of why. Because during the game, Coach Smith is making play calls, we're making adjustments, but until we see the film, it's tough to say for sure exactly what it is that was the one issue, or if there was one issue.
Now, we've asked you about the first half offensive struggles. You haven't agreed with us, but today, until the last 4 seconds, when you had the late drive because of Jameson's long run, it was 3 points and very little offense again. You still don't accept that as a premise, that this team has struggled in the first half, has gotten off to slow starts?
I think those are two different things. I think if you say, did we struggle in the first half? We certainly struggled in the first half today. There's no doubt. And I think there are reasons for that. Maybe I don't hear the question the right way, because when somebody says to me that you're off to a slow start, I take that as the team's not emotionally ready to play. And that is not what I see when I put the film on. I see a team that is flying around, playing with emotion. You know, I would like us to execute better. Yeah, and we certainly didn't do that today. And that's the game we'll focus on. And there's reasons, but the reasons are lack of execution. We have a 9-play drive that ends ultimately in a field goal, but the reason we don't have an opportunity for a touchdown is because we get sacked on second down, pushes back. Then the third drive, we have a 2nd and 5, we have a false start. Now it's 2nd and 10, we end up punting. So those are things that have happened to us, or happened to us today. Unfortunately, and the third drive was the interception by the defensive end. Those are things that happened to us today. Those are the reasons, but that's lack of execution on our part. And we got to look at the film and say, all right, what can we do better from a technique standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, to make sure that we do it better?
How big of a play in the momentum aspect was the Karan Pratt fumble?
I think it's a big play. But I think there's a lot of plays in the game that ultimately go into the result. We're certainly not going to put more weight on that, but I think it's a momentum swing in the game. There's no doubt. It goes from a completion and an opportunity. I forget exactly what yard line it was, but we're either moving into the red zone or we're in the red zone. To being a turnover. I think at that point it's a 2-score game, so you feel pretty good about your chances. But that's one of many things that happened throughout the game. There's certainly a lot of things that happened before that put us in that situation where we're down 2 touchdowns. So I don't put more weight on it, but it is a momentum swing, sure.
Kyle, does the bye week come at a good time now?
I don't know. I've said before, and I will stick to what I said because I believe it's true. And when you get your schedule at the beginning of the year, you find out when your bye weeks are. And then it's our job as coaches to make sure that we utilize them to the best of our ability to make sure that at the end of the bye week, we're a little bit better, which certainly we got to be a little bit better, and the team is rested and ready for the next part of the season, which for us is going to be critical because we're going to come off the bye week and play a very unique scheme on offense and defense versus Army. And then we've got 3 games left after that are essentially going to decide the Big East Championship. So this is going to be a critical week for us going forward.
Got time for 2 more?
Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but typically the team would stay for the alma mater with the band after losses. Is that a change this season?
That's actually not true.
Not true.
No, since I've been here, we've done that after wins, but we've never done it after losses.
This is the first time in your head coaching career you had to address the team after a loss. What was your message, and how are you going to process the next 24 hours?
My message was very simple. They can expect me to be the same exact person I've been the entire season. Because as I've said after wins, it's also true after losses. The next game brings different schemes, different matchups, different personnel. So to think that the issues we had today will continue to be the issues next week, or the reason we may have had success a couple weeks ago would be the reason we would have success today, is the wrong way to think about it. That next game is coming, and it is a completely different animal than what we dealt with today. So we got to make the corrections so that if we do see these issues in the future, we handle them better. But after we make the corrections, we have to move on. And just like you have to move on after a win.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.